I want to offer you a practice of a way to begin to embody and express this redemptive quality of love in your life. And one of the keys, as I've said earlier in this program, is to have an acknowledgement from the very beginning, from the outset, that we all are human beings. And even though in our deepest ground of being, there's a kind of a perfection, there's an overwhelming beauty to the absolute ground of our being, of all beings. We are also, however, a human being, one particular incarnate human being. And to be a human being, part of incarnation is that to be a human being is we have no guarantee of perfection. In fact, we have no guarantee of much of anything at all. And it's our humanity that keeps orienting us into a kind of humility. So unfortunately, often people confuse humility for feeling humiliated. They're totally different things. When you feel humiliated, you feel small, you feel judged, you feel put down. But to be humbled is actually to be delivered back into the truth of your humanity, which is a beautiful thing. To be humbled is an extremely positive experience. And so if we can just start by acknowledging the humbleness of human incarnation, that the human incarnation, it has its strengths and it has its fragility. The human incarnation will probably never come up to your idea of absolute perfection. And so you acknowledge that from the beginning. Perfectionism is a destroyer of love. Those of you who have tendencies to try to be a perfect person, remember, your perfectionism is what destroys the love within you. Remember, love is a forgiving force, is a humble force. You can feel it inside you right now. So the beginning of this practice is just to feel your humanity. Your humanity. That in one sense we're all in this together. That there really isn't an ultimate hierarchy in our humanness. And to take a moment to accept it. This doesn't mean to give excuse for unconscious or unkind or bad behavior. This is just a way of acknowledging that even when we are endeavoring to move from the deeper truths that we know, even when we are attempting to be as loving as we can be, that we are also operating through a human vehicle. And it will not come up to the ideas of perfection that we might have. It's just an acknowledgement of that. And you can feel that. You take a moment to feel that. Take a moment to let your body relax into that. You see? That you're not going to try to impose some sort of spiritual ideal onto yourself. Just relax. Let your being know that you're not trying to impose anything upon yourself. You've already tried that probably, and it hasn't worked out so well. I'm not trying to impose anything upon you. And you're not to try to do that to yourself either. So just remind yourself that that's not what we're doing. And just let yourself rest into your being for a moment. And even though in most human beings there are conflicting forces, there are conflicting experiences, you can have love and anger, upset, and well-being all at the same time. And so we're not trying to control all of that. We're not trying to control this paradoxical nature of the human experience. We're trying to kind of get into the underlying context, the deeper ground of being, of experience. You see, you just breathe into it. And let yourself just breathe in that quality of the presence of love into the heart. Just let it breathe you in and out for a moment. Just completely receive it. And as you receive it in any way that it's appearing, don't worry if it's appearing in a very, very subtle way. Sometimes it appears in a very strong way. But however that sense of presence, of love, of wholeness appears to you, just receive it just as it is. That's enough. That's enough. And as you receive it, I want to remind you those words that I heard the first time that this redemptive love broke through my own story, my own fortress of self. When it first broke through and it reminded me, this is how I love you. This is how the universe loves you. This is how God loves you. And this is how you shall love all beings. And this is part of receiving the love, is the willingness to give it. That's completing the circuit, completing the loop. You can't just receive and receive and receive and receive and receive forever, that it's like breathing. You receive and you give it back. You give it back energetically by breathing love back out into the world. You give it back by embodying love through your actions, through your speech, reminding yourself that the way that love engages in life is through acceptance, not as a static goal, but as a beginning point of engagement. So you accept so that a deeper engagement, a deeper activity can flow forth from the acceptance, but you have to accept first. The way that love engages in the world through openness to new discovery, to seeing things differently than you did yesterday, to seeing new truths, sometimes to seeing that you were wrong about something, the willingness to see that, the willingness to acknowledge truth in others. That's how love moves too. The way love moves as honesty, as being deeply honest, and with great integrity, being connected with your own sense of integrity, not what the world tells you, not some idea that you're imposing upon yourself, but something that's innate, something that comes up from your guts almost, something that lives very deep inside of you. And so this practice actually is to stop from time to time throughout the day to just breathe in a kind of accepting and loving presence. Breathe it in and just experience it however it shows up for you. And then give it back out as energy, but also just live in the curiosity of how does this love engage in life? How does it talk to a person when there's a disagreement? How does it move through the grocery store? How does it move when you're dealing with the children, with the challenging moments of life, with the beautiful moments of life? How does it move? I'd rather leave you with the question, so it's part of your inquiry, part of the practice is feeling into how love expresses itself and manifests itself and embodies itself in you. How does it do that? Rather than an idea of how it should do it that you're trying to impose upon yourself. That's the old model. That's the old strategy that doesn't work. This is something that comes from within and flows out. And just by being curious, you keep calling it forth, by being open, by being honest, by being humble, not expecting perfection from yourself or others. By all these traits, you bring forth the deepest within you. And then you participate and become a loving presence and a redeeming presence in the world. In a million small ways, you become a redemptive presence in the world. And you become that which welcomes that universal presence of redemptive love into your life and into the world as well. You become a witness to that reality of redemption.